Well, thank you so much for being here with me once again in another episode of A Legacy of Love, Un Legado de Amor. And I have someone very special today that she has a very empowering story. Her name is Tenya, and thank you for being here with me once again on another episode.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Great. I am also very excited. Would you share a little bit about yourself?
Gosh, I'm 48 years old. I have a wonderful husband. I have three adult children. I'm an energy healer and a self-care coach, and a little bit of fun. I absolutely love Christmas.
Yes, I could tell. I could tell. I also love Christmas myself, and we would all like to know a little bit about your path as what you've done, what you do, what you had to overcome. I think we all have a story. In my case, my story wasn't easy. It definitely took me, like I share in my book, baby steps to be able to share, to be able to open, because there were just so many things. And they're very sensitive topics that several people just won't want to go there or share. So, with that said, could you share a little bit about your own journey?
Yeah, my journey, when I was growing up, I thought I had a pretty typical childhood. As I got older, though, and had to raise my own kids, I started to really remember more of my childhood. And I learned very early on to push things away, push things down, which is why I think I always thought that I had such a normal childhood. Um, However, learning to push those things down and learning to push things away really manifested in a high functioning chronic anxiety and depression that really came up to the surface when my husband and I started to become empty nesters. All three of our kids were graduating college or high school, and we were getting on this journey of empty nesting in our forever home, our retirement home per se. And my anxiety and depression started to come back up and really want my attention. It was almost like they were a different part of me that was like, hey, you really need to pay attention to us. And I had to figure out how how was I going to manage this? And I only knew the traditional routes to begin with, medication, talk therapy, which it helped in the past. And it definitely helped to really just kind of level things out so that I could manage life and survive through life. But being in the space that I was in, I had this opportunity to say, I don't want to survive with it anymore. I don't want to manage it. I want it gone. And after going the traditional routes for a couple of months and going back to the doctor and the doctor saying, the medication's not working. Maybe we need to up your medication. They wanted to up the dosage. And I
Hmm.
didn't think that wasn't what I wanted. I
Hmm.
wanted it gone.
Yes.
Um, and there was a lot of pushback from other people as well that this was what I was looking to do was very woo-woo, was very out there because it wasn't what everybody else knew.
Hmm.
Um, but by the end of the cycle of this medication, I was sitting at my desk after work and I was like, I just need something. And I was just like, God, Lord, universe, whoever's listening, give me something that's going to get rid of this. I don't want to survive anymore. I don't want to manage it. I was done self-medicating. I had started smoking and drinking again to try to, self-medicate all of this stuff away. And I found I did a Google search for emotional holistic healing, and I found this modality called the emotion code. And
Hmm.
this was using your body's response or muscle testing to find trapped emotions and just using yes or no questions. Do I have a trapped emotion of anxiety? Do I have a trapped emotion of depression? Do I have a trapped emotion of abandonment? Those kinds of things. And then using a refrigerator magnet to go over the governing meridian 3 times, 10 times, depending on where this emotion came from. And I was just like, okay, I have a refrigerator magnet. Is it really that easy? Um, and this is very like nothing I had ever experienced before.
Hmm.
It was it was very woo-woo. It was very out there. Um, and I had been down the holistic train before with food and stuff like that, dealing with autoimmune diseases and stuff like that. But this was just like there was nothing there. There was nothing but a refrigerator magnet that I could get off my refrigerator. And so I started researching it and I signed up for um a session with a practitioner I'd found on YouTube because I was like, what do I have to lose? I don't have to buy any shakes or, food or pills or anything like that. So all I'm going to lose is some money if this doesn't work. And even though insurance wasn't going to pay for it, it's like I had to try. And after the first session, I felt so much lighter. It was like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. And then a couple of days went by and I started to feel it all come back.
Mm.
And I was like, "Ugh, maybe this isn't working." Because with medication, they say it takes 4 to 6 weeks to know whether the medication is working or not, right? Anything that you try, you have to give it time to try. But in my research, I saw all these stories of how people were healed overnight by energy healing because they had Reiki or they started meditating or, something like that. And so I started to doubt whether this was working or not. But I kept getting the nudge to try a different practitioner. Maybe it was the practitioner, is what my ego told me. Maybe it was the practitioner.
Hmm.
And so I tried another practitioner. And after the appointment, I felt lighter. I was like, okay, maybe this does work. And it lasted a little bit longer than the first time, but then it started to come back again. I was like, oh, this is so frustrating. So I dug back into research, started, testimonials, comments on Facebook pages, that kind of thing. And I found out that there's layers. There's always layers. There's always, stuff that is underneath of stuff that's underneath of stuff. And it works the same way for energy work. There's, you have the root cause of why something's happening, but then you have all this stuff on top of it that you've just piled on top of it. And you can't always get to the root cause in one session.
Yes.
And I was like, they do that with talk therapy. They do that with medication. There's always something else that has to be done, right? And so I was like, okay. So the opportunity to go to an emotion code conference came up, and this was all online. So because it was COVID, no one was flying anywhere. So they were doing all their conferences online. So I signed up to hear from the horse's mouth what the emotion code was all about. How does it work? How would it help me? And by the end of the 2 days, I was ready to sign up to get my certification. Not to have it as a business, but to help myself.
Mm. I see.
I, I wanted it was going to be cheaper to sign up to learn how to do it myself than it was to continue paying other practitioners to do it. And
Hmm.
I just really wanted to learn because then I could help my family as well. And so within 3 or 4 months of signing up for the emotion code, I got my emotion code certification, my body code certification, and a certification called Easy Entity Release. And with these three modalities, I had healed from my anxiety and depression, about 80%. And I
Oh,
was like, yeah, yeah, this was the most improvement I had ever had in the probably 20 years of really having, because my first time I was on antidepressants, my oldest was probably a year old.
yeah, that was my question that I was about to ask you about. When did this start? When did you notice? Because people that are going to be tuning in, they're going to want to know most likely, well, when did she start noticing that there was days that she felt depressed? When did this all start? That she felt, depressed, sad, all this anxiety. How did she
Mhm.
notice that there was a problem, that it was not something just temporarily, that it would just eventually, fade away and go? That, I mean, that's
Well,
a very good question.
yeah, I actually think it really started when I was around, really started to notice it shortly after my cycle started, after like 11, 12 years old. Because
Hmm.
it was at that time that I'd start stealing alcohol or cigarettes from, I started smoking when I was 13, like full-fledged. I mean, I would sneak cigarettes before that, but like on a consistent basis, I was like 13 years old.
Oh, wow.
So I know that it started a lot earlier than when I started to be treated for it.
I see.
Because my mom never took me to a doctor to find out if I was depressed or I had anxiety.
That's what I was going to ask also. Was
Yeah.
your mother involved? Is this something that runs in families about depression, anxiety? Is it just something that you eventually develop, or um, how was it that you ended up in that kind of situation?
So my mom is diagnosed bipolar, and she was diagnosed when I was about 7 or 8 years old.
Hmm.
So she was about 27 or 28 when she was diagnosed with being bipolar. And I fully believe that mental illness is definitely inherited. I think it's inherited in many different ways.
Hmm.
Because when I started to work on the trapped emotions, the stuff going on in the body code, like the toxins and all these beliefs and stuff like that, a lot of what I was finding was inherited from my grandfather on my dad's side.
Hmm.
So that's epigenetics that is coming through your DNA from your ancestors. And so that's what I mean by like we're carrying around not just our own stuff,
Hmm.
but we're carrying around our ancestor stuff.
Yes.
And because energy, everything is energy, we walk past somebody on the street who's in a bad mood and they're yelling or something, right? You hear that and you can absorb their, if you react to it, you're absorbing their energy.
Hmm.
And then you can just hold on to it for years
Hmm.
and not even realize that when you get triggered from an argument, that it's actually triggering this emotion that you picked up from a stranger on the street
Hmm. Okay.
because it's just vibrating that energy.
Yes. And the main point here is to find the way to find healing. And
Yeah,
at times we find healing through different methods. Like you said, you tried traditional, it didn't work. You
right.
tried other methods, medication, which I'm also on the same boat like you. I don't believe in medication. I think that the best way to help with these situations and problems are finding other alternatives on the way. And whether it's your path, whether it's there's going to be a lot of people listening, what would you advise them? Or whether if it's, you know, uh, I'm a Christian life coach, I would sit, pray, find the way to where this comes from,
Mhm.
find the way to call it out, find the way to ask the Lord to come and restore. But regardless, I think that recognizing you have a problem, I think it's the first step in finding healing. Recognizing, because if you don't recognize there's a problem, then how could you actually start that
Right.
process of change? And what would you tell people that are listening right now that are still that, oh, wow, that's exactly, I've tried this, it didn't work. I tried that, it didn't work. What would you advise them? What to do, how to know that this would be a good option for them to
Alternative.
try.
Yeah, I would say to do research. There are so many different energy healing modalities out there. And I may not be the practitioner for everybody, and I know that. However, there are so many different options out there. If medication and talk therapy are not working for you, look at different modalities. Just look up energy healing modalities for whatever your problem is. And you're going to find things like the emotion code, theta healing, Reiki, quantum healing. There's going to be so many different things to try. Find one that resonates with you. Find one that aligns with your values, that aligns with your beliefs, and try it. Just try it. Give it one, I would say, try to give it at least 3 sessions to really see if it's something that's going to work for you. And if you start feeling better after each session, then it's probably going to work for you.
Hmm.
But I would also dig deep into self-care. I mean, really, start off with, 2 to 3 hours a day of self-care. And that's not, a 3 hour massage. It's meditation, it's journaling, it's going for walks, it's changing your eating habits. There's so much to self-care that we need to be doing. And it is not always fun and it's not always easy, but change is not easy.
I
And,
agree.
and you have to change what you're doing if you want better results.
Yes.
You,
Yes.
you can't keep doing the same thing and expect things to change.
Yes, and I'm gonna right there what you just said right now about the fact of sometimes it's not fun. Well, yeah, I agree. It might not be fun at the beginning because
Right.
maybe you were not giving yourself that time, that love, that pampering, which yes, at times I think it's not bad at all to do all these things that you came up with, but I personally think that it doesn't always necessarily have to be boring or it has to be,
No.
oh, there we come again. A little something that you love. Maybe it might be reading a book.
Yep.
Maybe it might be cooking a meal, learning how to cook,
Right.
doing something that will actually allow you to take your mind out of that uh, feeling of anxiety or depression. And what works for me might not work for you. But
Right.
coming up with ideas like you just came up with, and the ones that I just came up with, decorating, if you love, which I love that, if you love to cook and bake and something that will help you might not necessarily, help me, but coming up with something that could actually bring us to a better state of mind and will allow us to be our own version and allow us to know that it is okay, not to be okay, but we have to find the way to get ourselves better,
Yeah.
loving ourselves. Yes, maybe after you've done the hard work, to do something fun, well, maybe you want to go and get your hair done or get your nails done or spend some time at journaling or listening to music if you love to dance, if you love to listen or catch a movie, something that will inspire you, that you're the one that knows what actually inspires you.
Hmm.
And taking it from there, I
Right.
I would assume that I've never been there, but I would assume that all this, like I share in my book, are baby steps. And it's up to us to make a big difference
Hmm.
in our lives and also in the lives of our people that are close to us, our loved ones, because they also are being impacted by either if we're with anxiety or we're depressed or there's something hurting us. They also hurt because they're watching us, because they love us and they want the very best for us. And with that said, I know that you have a last message to share with us, and I don't want to continue. I want you to share what would be your last message for them.
You're worth spending your time on. We spend money in all kinds of places, but and we spend time in so many places. So find the money to spend on yourself, find the time to spend on yourself. You're worth every minute and every dime.
Yes, I agree. I agree. because sometimes we become very selfless and we think about everyone else and we want to make sure everyone's taken care of, but you put yourself at the back burner and
Yeah,
it's okay. I'll be okay. I will find the way. I'll survive. But no, you have to be well. First, you should be well in order to then take care of the other people around you, help other people. How could you help other people if you're not well? If
right.
you need to be your best version. So I agree with that last message. And with that said, thank you for being here with me on this episode of A Legacy of Love, which I cannot wait to have it out and about so you could also see how well it went. And I know it will be a blessing to everyone that has heard it today. Thank you for being here with me today.
Thank you so much.